focus up towards the start of 2023's iRacing Off-Road Championship Series. We send more than 20,000 horsepower up the hill into Turn 1 at Wild West Motorsports Park and get the season underway. Connor Barry gets the chrome horn out, 3 wide as he works for 5th position down the hill, but Joel Blewett will lead from Keaton Swain down through Turn 2, crucially converting pole position to the lead of the race as Connor Barry almost goes up and over.
This is what happened down towards Turn 2 that sent, I believe, 2 cars over. I think they're both a little bit unlucky, to be honest, and one nearly finding itself out the boundaries of the circuit. It's a real mess behind. Looking at Conor Parisi watching those 2 side by side into the final turn in front.
Now you've got Kay, Bergeron, Lieber. Bergeron's lucky, I think, to still be involved in this because Lieber did get a little bit physical, leaning on multi-time winner in the series because Bergeron won twice in 2022 despite missing 2 of our races. So trying to still hold on to that spot in the top 10. Again, I will remind everyone, points are allocated based on past performance through the previous championship season and the qualifying series. You see so many of those 20s up there is a really interesting thing that shows that this dirt refresh is catching these drivers a little bit unexpected as well. Parisi and Bergeron, 2 former World Championship rivals in Rallycross as well, swap around for 10th spot.
Yeah, even those drivers who have the real high numbers have got some real talent here. That was a huge bobble for Conor Parisi there, who's found himself really wide, and Bergeron goes through, and Brilli might well do the same as well. It will all be side by side between everybody in towards Turn 1. This is going to be exciting, and in they fly. Bergeron flies in, and too much. There's contact now. Everyone's involved, and wow, this is going to be quite a sight going down the hill.
Parisi somehow in 14th and almost off the track. Look how physical it is, and he's one of those drivers in virtual reality, yoinking on the handbrake as well to just pitch the car around and use 4-wheel drive to go in a straight line. Now, while they're doing this, all they do is realistically allow those up front to break away, and it's a 7-car train as Quinton Dalomo, hardest charger so far today, 10 places gained up to 13.
And this is exactly how you can do it. You can embark on these battles, and if you get there quickly, get through quickly, and get away as well, you can almost go through before everyone's realised quite what's happened. That seems to be Dalomo's strategy at the moment. He's into 12th place. Proudfoot and Parisi are going to go side by side to Turn 1 of A. They will do, and he just about avoids it, just Dalomo. This will set up the battle for 13th with more than 4 involved. Swain will know about missing out on a championship, of course, from last season. Possibly down to incidents as well, you could chalk it down to. Now he is going to go for the lead nevertheless. They never hold back here. He's gone for the bumper run at the final turn, and he's gone straight through. But it's not going to be that simple. Swain gets challenged now by Blewett into Turn 2. It won't happen this time, but we're getting towards the end now. Last minute of this race, really, and Swain's going to have his hands full.
It's going to be on this last lap where Joe Blewett's going to try and compromise the run of Keaton Swain into the final corner. Outside line, you got to be careful not to be squeezed. Both showing each other great respect, and it's going to be a drag race up the hill into turn number 1. Final lap of the race here is a kick off the 2023 Off-Road Championship Series.
Into Turn 1 with Swain on the outside. He's going to do well to get round here, but he might be looking at Turn 2 more so. He's actually done really well at the top of the hill there. He's stayed alongside, as he not quite. Blewett is at the front. Now down towards Turn 2. Swain will throw it to the inside.
He returns the favour, the send that he got from Connor Barry to start the campaign off. Joe Blewett sees what the World Championship ranks can truly be like. Keaton Swain has seen it all in this World Championship and will continue the streak, not just of finishing up inside of the top 10, but adding to the count of victories. Second, yes, in 2022, but not to be denied to open up the history books for 2023. It's Keaton Swain that crosses the line at Wild West Motorsports Park to grab the victory, the 3rd of his World Championship career. Joel Blewett on debut will come across the line in 2nd, while the champ comes up to 3rd. Lieber and King get ready to once again get 20,000 horsepower fired up the hill into turn number 1, racing for round 2 of the 2023 iRacing Off-Road Championship Series. Almost for a moment we went 3 wide through the opening corner, but Crystal King fortunately does not get tagged by Nicholas Dachelet. It's behind that, it's chaos. Dalomo's going to slide his way into the wall. We were 3 wide for 3rd for a second as well, but outside of Dalomo, for a moment we got through safely. There's the carnage.
in towards turn 1. It's stacked up everybody else, and they've all produced this. Someone else in the wall, think that's Conor Parisi, who will spin in front of the field.
It was alongside with Christopher Plumley, who slips and slides his way, but is able to hold on. There was a car that was doing a wheelie. How did we get through there? How did Quintin Del Lomo flip by himself? He's going once again.
Oh.
More chaos in the background. Why is it always race 2 when the madness gets unleashed?
I think about half of them have been upside down by this point because it's been carnage on the opening lap. It's still going on as well. Josh Fox has come from the very back of the field to work his way through a third of it in one lap. Don't really know how he's done that, but he's navigated the chaos really well, and he's looking for 15th on the inside of Conor Parisi. He'll get it as well.
Here's what happened further back, by the way. This is Killian Del Lomo, who was 3 wide for a moment, and as they work their way through the corner, he loses the rear end on the car. In front of him, Parisi is the one that touches the catch fencing. It's the 26 of Parker Retzlaff that gets the worst of it, but I can confirm that, as I think that's Cody Retzlaff who hits his cousin Parker, that Alex Bergeron was the car that had the major issues on lap number 1, and Trenton Briley is 2 for 2 for flipping in 2023. It's now 3.5 at the front. A rookie looks like they might walk away with a win, especially given how much they continue to check each other up. Keaton Swain will grab second. Barry will run away with him. Our title contenders in 2022 have found each other once again. Behind them, it might be Tyson Miller. That looks to the inside of Josh Edmondson, who in virtual reality will get the elbows out to get past Crystal King.
Well, I'm not sure it's all done yet, and Dashley will certainly have felt the brunt of a pretty big hit towards turn 1. Edmondson will get hit now as well. Big opposite lock, but it will be side by side, and it will be 5th place for Josh Edmondson by the looks of things. Good pass.
And it's about that consistency that you were talking about earlier, and so that's where it's going to be key. I'll note for Josh Edmondson, he's one of the first people to use the new Pimax Crystal VR. He's quite happy about how that's working for him. Conor Barry up the inside of Keaton Swain, and the champ is up to second. Conor Barry comes into this round with relatively little practice compared to what he had underneath him in 2022, but racecraft does not disappear. Nicholas Dashley might just disappear now, though.
That is such a shame. A small clip on the wall at turn 2. He goes over. He's back to pit lane as well. From possible podium to pit lane. Disaster for Desolé there, and that's a real shame for him. Could have even gotten involved with these guys, but that won't be happening anymore. It has allowed them to get away. Barry and Swain will fight for 2nd and 3rd amongst themselves.
Let's dial things back up in time and check out Dashley just hooking himself a bit too much on that inside curve. And unfortunately, he did not land on all 4 tires.
Very close again, but it's the same old story, really. Not close enough to action a move, or maybe not a case of not being close enough, but just not willing to, not able to. Whatever it is, he's not getting through at the moment. Still 3rd place, up towards turn 1. Barry with that line through turn 1 that makes it really hard to almost get alongside. Outside seems a very long way around, and the inside is just not happening because Barry is closing the door almost, but a bit of a bobble there. Small mistake through turn 2. Swain gets close again, but can't get through once again. It's a good way of keeping him behind, to be honest. Side by side, a bit further behind between Parisi and Grady now in towards turn 2. These are where the battles are really, in the mid-pack, where they're all fighting over positions. Parisi's been really in the mixer today. Well, in race 2, certainly. Now he's side by side again. He'll hold the inside and hold 12th place, at least for now.
Behind, by the way, look at maybe the oldest ever iRacing World Championship competitor, as Terry Miller shows that age is but a number as he tries to fight with the youngest iRacing World Championship competitor at one point. Jacob Rafosco's up and over, and the 70-year-old Terry Miller says, no you don't, Jacob.
He's done all right for himself, and that's all he can hope for. That was a bit of contact between a couple of the drivers up towards turn 1. I think they're all right in the end. And on this final lap, positions may not change inside the top 10, but towards the lower part of it and just out of it, they certainly might.
Yeah, it's down through turn 2 where you really have the best opportunity to make something happen. Parisi's going to try and look to the inside and try and switch it back. I don't think he's going to be able to get it. Coming out of the final corner, though, to take victory number 1 in the iRacing World Championship career of Jarrett Liebert. He's been around racing for years, but finally that iRacing World Championship win as he brings Team Rogue to victory lane at Wild West Motorsports Park. days, we will return to the big house to crown the next King of the Dirt. But today we head to Crandon with championship intentions laid down and a season to dive into. Welcome to the 2023 iRacing Off-Road Championship live on RaceBot TV and the iRacing Esports Network. Hi folks, Arjuna Kankipati here, delighted to have your company. After our season got underway 7 days ago, we saw the familiar as well as the new make their way to victory lane, both with Keaton Swain picking up right where he left off, but of course the rookie Jared Liebert carrying that sim racing experience into victory lane on debut. Now though, we head to maybe one of the most famous tracks in all of short course racing, where all the best have done their battling and now sim racing's finest get to do it once more. I get to be joined by Joshua Lee, who has reevaluated his priorities heading after round one of the season. And Josh, I mean, you had some more important things to attend to at the end of the day, but what a wild round number one that we had. And now you get to join us as we make our way into the real heart of the championship.
Yeah, well, you were commentating some virtual jumpy trucks. I was producing some real jumpy trucks in Music City at the Monster Jam World Finals, but I'm now back in the virtual commentating seat, and I watched round number one from Nissan Stadium while we were working throughout the week, and it was a very interesting round. We had a lot of familiar faces finish up towards the front in both of our main races that night. We also had some new faces that are coming into the series for the first time, Jarrett Liebert being that main one, but also Joel Blewett showing off in that first race. There's a lot of new names that are making waves right now, and I think we're going to be seeing them for the remainder of the calendar, but the remainder of the calendar starts here at Crandon. We're off of the first race jitters. You have to be solid from here to the end of the championship if you want to walk away a champion.
I think jitters are such an important word, but if you've had a bad round number one, you can't let it sit with you either. Let's take a look, though, at our schedule for the All-Stars, who always set the stage for us before we go racing in the Championship Series. The Pro 2 Light, 400 horsepower two-wheel drive versus the 900 horsepower of the Pro 4. And, of course, these drivers get to drive in both of them. Going to be very exciting as they make their way across of all 9 weeks, championship paying point paying weeks as well, as we run our way to August the 23rd. But of course, we talk so much about Crandon, and it's going to be such a important track in the championship, both in this All-Star as well as in the World Championship Series. And so Joshua Lee, talk to us a little bit more about this Crandon International Raceway.
Well, of course, it's called the Big House for a reason. This track is arguably the most famous off-road short course track, not only in the United States, but possibly in the world. And you can see we're using that long back straightaway, that tight hairpin by the trees that leads into the triple whoop section, that land rush start. You see that 3D truck right there. We're not going to be starting like we start every other short course race where we have a rolling start to the green flag. We're going to have a standing start, 10 trucks wide on each row. They'll race their way into turn number one, and it is the most exhilarating thing that you could ever watch in virtual racing. And whoever's on pole by the end of that opening corner, Arjuna, there's a good chance they're not going to be in the lead when they go over that first jump.
Well, it's going to be an exciting one, and of course, with less horsepower for the All-Stars, they'll be even more bunched up, hypothetically, on their run into what is turn 5 on the race start. That's a shot of the run that they'll have into the final corner as we take a look at Nate Stewart, I do believe, in his Dale Jr. inspired Pro 2 truck. Of course, great to have the eclectic field that we have in the All-Stars as ever. You've got some of the fastest drivers in various disciplines in sim racing, mixed with some drivers who join us from the real world, as well as plenty of those that like to entertain more than, let's say, compete. I think that's the nicest way that I can describe Brendan Lichtenberg, at least. I know Keenan Kusin is capable of winning. I'm not sure about Brendan.
Okay, now listen, Trevor Teal sitting there and was in 6th, now in 7th. Entertaining, but also really good at racing. And I'd say Drapke and Reynolds are the same way. Nate Stewart sitting in 3rd. Luke Knupp, another fast one. How about Keenan Kusin? I've said it before and I'll say it again. The most improved driver in all of short course along this 2023 year. I saw him in league competition competing, not in All-Stars, competing against the big drivers, and he was exceptionally good, especially in the final rounds of the season. Look for Keenan to be very, very quick, especially among the likes of Knupp, Drapke, and Reynolds, who, oh, by the way, are professionals at this type of thing. Vicente Salas, NASCAR professional right now, sits in 6th. He's another very quick one.
Yeah, and this is the thing that we got to remember. We've got that split dichotomy of drivers who maybe have more dirt experience and then those who have less of it. We had plenty of close racing last time, and I have no doubt that we will see that once again. But it is Drapkin that once again will lay the benchmark down in qualifying, but it's Blake Reynolds that keeps him within half a tenth of a second as Vicente Salas hits a wall as the checkered flag flies in qualifying. Let's run you down through the starting grid where Zachary Drapkin, Blake Reynolds will not just be the only two cars on the front row, but Nate Stewart, Luke Knupp, Keenan Kusin, Vicente Salas, and then moving on forward, or left I should say, Trevor Teal, Mikey Lawrence, Brendan Lichtenberg, and then Mia Rose. That's row number 1. Then row 2, Leo Mora lines up in 11th with Twelsing West The Mess, Adam Briggs, Justin Melillo rounding out the field of 14 cars. One thing that I was about to say when it comes to land rush starts is that you don't necessarily have to deal with an invert, but we seem to be stacked up behind the pace car right now, so instead of the land rush start that we've been getting very excited for, Josh, it's slightly different.
But hey, we're just going to be super excited when we work our way into the World Championship tonight to see that land rush start. These All-Stars aren't going to have to deal with that thing. They'll start rolling behind the iRacing official pace truck. Might be a little bit better for these All-Stars to have a little bit more of a chance of making it through turn number 1 in all honesty, but the World Championship drivers will deal with that land rush start, and it's going to be exciting when we get there, but we've got 2 races of All-Stars to tie us over until that point.
And if you're just joining us for the very first time, or if you've been watching along over the course of eShort Course Racing and have always thought you might be quick at it, head on to iRacing.com today where new memberships are 40% off, and you can get started on your road to the virtual checkered flag, and you'll be able to race at this very same track with the very same cars as those championship series drivers. So that's very exciting. And what's even more exciting potentially, Josh, is the fact that not just our dirt season underway, but here on the iRacing Esports Network on July the 10th, the iRacing World of Outlaws Butt Kicker Late Model Series also gets underway.
Very, very soon that championship is going to get underway, and it's not quite dirt road, dirt oval, but equally as exciting. And I've always watched the late model series in the World of Outlaws in real world and in the virtual world. Very exciting racing, and I'm excited to see how that championship is going to develop at the same time as our championship develops. We'll end before them, and then if you like the dirt action you see here on Wednesday nights, you'll be able to continue it on Mondays starting next week.
Yeah, I got the privilege, I think that's the best way of saying it, of seeing my very first dirt race, which was some 410 non-winged cars at Circle City, and I was blown away. And not just at all the dirt and dust that gets thrown directly at you. I had a piece actually hit me, or rather hit a friend and then ping pong onto me. It's a really visceral experience, and hoping that I can get out to one of those World of Outlaw races on the West Coast at some point. There's Trevor Teal that you were mentioning. Qualified over in the 7th spot, got plenty of strong drivers up in front of him. Two-wheel drive does mean, Josh, that when it comes to driving it, you do have to be a little bit more technical, especially with less power sometimes.
Yeah, it's not as easy to sling it into those corners like it is the Pro 4 and gather it up, right? You can still sling these trucks into the corner, but Pro 4 means 4-wheel drive. All 4 wheels spinning at the same time when you hit that throttle. And these Pro 2 lights, not only is it less horsepower, but it's only those rear tires. Front tires not pulling. It's going to make for a lot less grip on this dirt, but still some very exciting racing to watch as these All-Stars get ready to go green.
It was wild at the Wild West Motorsports Park. We're not expecting it to be much different at the big house. Zachary Drapkin picks up the throttle. We're racing once again for the iRacing Off-Road All-Star Invitational. Immediately, we get single file for the front 6. They're not messing around. They know they've got to try and separate themselves slightly from those on behind. Vicente Salas joins us for the very first time. Looks down low on Nate Stewart, but now he's going to have to try and carry that momentum into tree turn.
Let's see how the NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series driver does as he heads into this hairpin. He's going to have to get on the brakes, get to the inside of the 75. That's a big send to the inside for Salas. Does he make it stick? He almost does, and he will as he works his way into the whoop section. But that 55 up into 4th. He makes a pass on Nate Stewart. Now Stewart having to deal with Keenan Kusin for 5th.
And this is where we would have started in towards turn 5, and so it means that we can at least be single file this time through. We saw some flips when we came here midway through 2022. Over the jump they go. It's going to be one of those other trouble spots, especially if you're side by side, but it's now here into the final sector. A couple of switchback hairpins where you can be physical to make your way past. Don't think we're going to see that as we jump on board with Keenan Kusin.
Great onboard look, and you can really see how much work he's putting into that wheel, which it's gotta be a lot with these Pro 2 lights. I mentioned how the Pro 4s can really dig out of these corners easy. The Pro 2s, the normal Pro 2s, the same amount of horsepower as the Pro 4s, equally can dig out of those corners a little easier. These Pro 2 lights can't. They don't have a lot of horsepower to keep the momentum in these wheels. That's half of what we talk about being quick in this series, Arjuna, is maintaining momentum, not killing your momentum mid-corner at these apexes. Very difficult to do in these Pro 2 lights, but honestly, that's why it makes it such a good learning tool. If you're coming up the ladder of dirt road racing and trying to get into off-road to maybe one day get into the iRacing Off-Road Championship Series, take some laps in these Pro 2 lights. Teaches the discipline of how to set up passes, how to make passes, and how to keep that momentum going.
And you say ladder as well. I think that's the great thing. You can start with the Beetle Light, which we had here at Crandon to close off the All-Star Invitational last year. Pro 2 Light, Pro 2, Pro 4. There is a tangible progression forward and to make your way up to the World Championship ranks as well. Just a reminder, 10-minute race, and 2 of these 10-minute feature will invert the field for the second one. And that does mean that if you are Adam Briggs, it's an opportunity, as Leo Mora found out last time out, also an opportunity to break away if there's fighting through the field. It's sometimes possible to work your way forward, but in these Pro 2 lights, when you can't rely on all 4 corners to dig into the dirt, if there is some contact, as Nate Stewart found out there, it can severely compromise you, and he's got a hungry pack getting stormed up behind.
That's Keenan Kusin, Mikey Lawrence, Trevor Teal, Mia Rose, all in that group. Brendan Lichtenberg rounds out that top 10, but he's a solid bit past Mia Rose in that 9th spot, about 1.5 seconds back as they race their way back onto the back straightaway. Saying way out wide is Nate Stewart. You don't want to go too wide in that corner. You can use that berm, all the berms on the side of these racing courses, whether it's here, we'll see it at Bark River, that final corner, getting way up onto that dirt wall to sling it into that final corner. You can use that, but you gotta be careful. Going too wide is gonna be, again, losing out on momentum. You're just gonna be scrubbing speed off. Nate Stewart used it to his advantage there to just kind of use up all the track limits, let the truck kind of widen out when it comes out of that corner, and then use that berm to kick you right back onto the racing surface.
So at the front, Luke Canuck's been able to get up in front of Blake Reynolds and Vicente Salas. And so it's a familiar sight to the two of us, Josh, in the form of Drapkin and Canuck, 2 drivers that last year we kept talking about the fact that they could have been part of the championship series if time had allowed. Well, not sure that was necessarily the case this year, because Luke Canuck said after last week that he had got 20 minutes of practice in the truck. I think he was pretty happy to be up in amongst all of the action. But all of these drivers, we talked about a lot last week, having to deal with a big dirt refresh.
Yeah, that update that came out a couple of weeks ago really did kind of flip everything on its head. And the World Championship drivers very quickly, after the qualifying series has ended, had to buckle down, learn what they had to do with this update and get the hang of it. That's the same thing with these All-Stars, especially if they, like Luke Canuck last week, having very limited practice before he came into the racing last Wednesday night. He had to learn what to do after the update. It's not just stretching into the World Championship competitors, it's stretching into these All-Star competitors, and if they haven't stepped into an off-road truck in a good long while, first time they're taking laps with these new updates, it will be a learning curve. But Drapkin and Canuck up front, Arjuna, you might as well be showing me a replay of last season and not even told me we had started this season.
I think the only thing that's different is now the fact that we've got some of the eNASCAR drivers in the mix as well. Mia Rose was very quick at Wild West, but this is a very different type of a track, and this is the challenge of short course. No 2 tracks are really identical. Maybe you could say Wild West and Wild Horse, very similar, Bark River and Crandon somewhat similar as well, but they've all got their own challenges. I guess one thing that all these drivers have in common is they don't have to worry about setup. They share the fixed setup that they're running with. Mia Rose runs all the way to the inside wall. But this is what sometimes I feel like road racers carry forward, is that spatial awareness to be able to slide close to the walls. Pretty good view of what's going up in front with Trevor Teal and Mikey Lawrence going back and forth.
And you can see that's both going to slow them down. And here comes Mia Rose to the inside, looking for the spot on Mikey Lawrence. Lawrence goes way up to the outside, and now there's Teal on board with Mia Rose. How is she going to set up this pass in the hairpin? Does she go for one? She'll look to the inside of the 85. Now she's going to dig out of the corner, and that's exactly what she needed to do. It's not going to stick. Lawrence with the over-under to get back to the inside, but now check this out. Mia Rose is set up for the right-hander. This would be turn number 1 off of the land rush start, and Rose trying to hold it to the inside. Can't exactly do it, and Lawrence will keep that spot. But that is a great preview of how the World Championship competitors and how these all-star competitors have to make moves going into that hairpin. You got to set it up, you got to plant at the apex, and then you got to use all that power in those wheels to dig out of that corner and work that pass.
And you mentioned it earlier, four-wheel drive is going to spool out so much easier. Sends through that corner when we get to the 24 trucks that will be out on track. Going to be even more intense. We are well past the halfway mark of this race. I think we're coming to take what should be 3 laps to go through the field. Still, this little train behind Trevor Teal runs for 7th spot, but the top 3 have somewhat broken away. I think Vicente Salas on debuts putting up a pretty good showing, but starting to struggle as the track evolves and the dirt moves around. Blake Reynolds, I think, is the real star in the Nitro Circus sim racing machine, because he's hanging on to the coattails of Drapkin and Knupp.
And not a lot of time remaining. Looks like we're only going to get about 2 more laps once they cross the line this time. And Teal into the corner, widens himself out. There's contact between 3 Pro 2 lights going through the apex of that corner. Now we look on board with Trevor Teal, who's got to be looking in that rear view mirror, seeing Lawrence, seeing Rose, battling it out behind him. But really right now, where Teal is on defense, and that could be a very, very difficult thing to do, whether it's the Pro 2 lights, Pro 2s, or the Pro 4s. Being on defense is tough because they can go anywhere they want, whether they dive it up the inside, they try and set up a pass on the outside. Heading into this corner, they could flat out use that bumper and shove you out of the way. Defense is tough. Offense is where I would always rather be, because I'm in control of the battle. I know that I can do almost anything to try and get by them, short of just flat out wrecking them. But if you're in defense, you have to watch always what's going on behind you.
Nate Stewart up the inside of Vicente Salas. He's not going to get it done. Keenan Kusin makes some contact as well. I'm calling Salas a rookie, but that's a truck rookie. Remember, he competed in a season of the iRacing Rallycross World Championship, won the final ever race in the iRacing Rallycross World Championship at the Charlotte Motor Speedway as well. He's got plenty of dirt experience, but we talked about the World Championship drivers making that crossover last year. It'll be interesting how Salas, who is spotting for Jarrett Liebert, who won, of course, a race last week, is going to do. Looks like Blake Reynolds, by the way, up the inside of Luke Knupp. That's going to be a swap around for second as we're getting ready to head on to the final lap of the race and say goodbye to Zachary Drapkin, who's breaking away.
That is a 1-second gap for the race lead as Reynolds and Knupp continuing their battle. Salas able to work his way, or Keenan Kusin able to work his way past Salas. Now there's contact, and Salas is spun to the inside. That was some very, very slight contact. Not at all the fault of Keenan Kusin. It was all Vicente Salas losing that truck in front of him that led to that contact. But white flag this time by Arjuna. They're still side by side with a lot to still settle for second place. And oh, by the way, they've shortened that gap a little bit to Drapkin.
Still a second, though, as we cross the line with 14 seconds to spare. Salas has dropped to 11th. He's in a great spot for the inverted second main event. Knupp's trying to set up Blake Reynolds here, and just watch it as they head in towards turn 3. We'll try and switch back to the outside, but the Nitro Circus sim racing car parks it down on the apex, and as they run their way down this back straightaway, which way does Reynolds go? Knupp's going to try and cover the inside, I think, for a moment, but going to settle into the line for the time being.
There's the dive to the inside and the hairpin. Does it stick? Plants it at the apex. Contact between the two, but that is exactly what Knupp needed to do. That is a perfect pass in that hairpin. He planted it on the apex. And what do I mean by planting it on the apex? He borderline stopped the truck. He made contact with Blake Reynolds behind him that forced the 66 to slam on the brakes and stop his forward momentum, and that gave Luke Knupp P2.
At the front, though, the red line all, number 56, continues to stretch its legs. I think Knupp's got a couple of car length advantage heading into the penultimate corner, and so it might just come down to a send in through Calamity Corner. That very final turn. Reynolds a little bit tighter to the inside, maybe overdoes it on exit. Say goodbye to Knupp as he starts to streak away into the distance, but through the final corner once again, it's Zachary Drapkin in that 56 red line all machine that comes across the line, a winner in the iRacing Off-Road All-Star Invitational. Luke Knupp does hold on to second, Blake Reynolds third, and now the best part, we will flip them around and put 10 more minutes on the clock and do it all again.
That is another familiar name in victory lane for the All-Star Series, and what a run further back in the field. Reynolds finishes on the podium, Nate Stewart in fourth, Keenan Kusin rounds out the top five, and that battle after the top five was exciting for that entire race as well.
Here's a look at your race result. Zachary Drapkin, only 1.5 seconds the margin, but never really challenged at the end of the day. Luke Knupp and Blake Reynolds a little bit more focused on one another. Nate Stewart then fourth after Vicente Salas dropped down through the field. Keenan Kusin fifth, Trevor Teal in sixth. It will be Mikey Lawrence, Mia Rose, Brendan Lichtenberg, and then Wes Graham the rest of the top 10. Looks like there were some interesting squabbles going on. Leo Mora, Vicente Salas, Adam Briggs, and Justin Malillo. Round out the 14 cars. We will get ready to flip around. We get a few moments here before the drivers head out racing once again. But they get to head back out onto track and work their way through another couple of minutes of practice, which I'm sure for some might be interesting to see that now the track has evolved. What can I do differently before I go out and race once again, Josh?
And that track evolution, we're going to bring up a lot in the World Championship. And it really is through those small race stints. You might not think it's going to take too long for that dynamic track to really take into effect and to be a completely different racetrack. With 20 of the best running almost identical lines, there is going to be a loss of moisture in a very specific way in each of these corners. Moisture searching is going to be important, especially with those updates that we talked about. Fresh moisture is going to be crucial for well-handling trucks.
They can't do much in terms of setup, which is, again, where we can talk a little bit more when it comes to the World Championship. We'll get a couple of looks on board with some of these drivers. I think it'll be an interesting ride as well, just to give a sense of elevation. This is the start of the lap. We've just come through the opening couple of corners. This is that run down onto that back straight. We say straight. It's not straight in terms of left or right. It's not straight in terms of undulation. Up and down you go through the roller coaster before you head onto the brakes in through this potential passing opportunity, although it's not very easy. And this, of course, is where on the right-hand side, they'll line up 10 wide and fire themselves off in the race start.
Listen, if you want to call that corner a potential passing opportunity or potential wrecking opportunity, I think it's both valid to call that hairpin corner. But you mentioned that land rush start, and this right here is going to be the first couple of corners. I mean, there's turn number one. This is that first jump I was talking about that can make or break your race. And then you work your way through that long left-hander and down through the last couple of corners on the formal lap, and then you cross the start-finish line. You're not on lap number 2. You're going on to the first official lap of the race. That is huge in the land rush start. Basically adds an entire half lap to this course, which is already, in terms of off-road courses, Arjuna, one of the longest, if not the longest, we're going to have on the calendar.
And one of the talking points for some of the drivers in the World Championship Series is tire wear and how that impacts things as well. And so you do 10-minute races, you might not think there's a lot of tire wear, but there's definitely something to think about. In terms of our points, by the way, just wanted to give a bit of an update after round 1, so not including the race that we've already had here today at the Big House. It's Blake Reynolds that took 99 points out of Wild West, 94 the way of Luke Knupp, and then Zachary Drapkin, 93 points. So plenty still to play for, I am sure. Like we said, full invert, and it was rather chaotic for the drivers trying to work their way on forward last time by. Leo Mora took all advantage of that and scampered away to take the victory in the second race at Wild West.
I'm excited to see how this second race is going to go, because we saw a lot last year that first race invert, for all intents and purposes, did not matter a whole lot. It was still Drapkin at the front. It was still Knupp that was right there. that invert didn't do a whole lot for these all-stars. I'm excited to see how it's going to be in race 2 here. If we're going to see a good majority of drivers still be towards the back after that invert, because you mentioned Leo Mora grabbing that win, but it was Reynolds and Knupp second and third, Mikey Lawrence in fourth. Very familiar names rounding out that top 5.
I was very impressed, by the way, with Leo Mora's collection of Lego. I've got a soft spot for Lego, not just because they sponsor plenty of sim racing things, but that is a lot of Lego. Can you imagine how much time it took to build all of those different things?
Probably a good bit, but I am not seeing the Lego Technic Monster Jam truck, so I think we still got to add to his collection a little bit.
Is there a Monster Jam?
There's
Lego
6 of them.
Oh, but
we have 6 Lego Technic sets. I think we need to get you some too, Arjuna. We
you're
got
trying
to
to bankrupt me, aren't you?
Yep.
Oh boy,
for
well.
sure.
Look, I'm gonna say that I have no more space to put anything. I think that's my problem now. The Omega Racing Team driver, who, like we said, on top last time by, has a chance once again, because this race will once again see the rolling start, but it should be the land rush start for our Championship Series drivers in just a few moments' time. Josh, great to have you back. How are you feeling back in the commentary booth and back with some short course racing?
I'm feeling good so far, but I think once we get into that World Championship, my voice not exactly doing too much commentating this year is gonna start to feel it. But I've got my tea, I've got my water, I'm ready to go, and I'm ready to see these All-Stars go racing for one more time around the big house.
The All-Stars get to set the stage once again. Let's invert the 14 and set them loose for 10 more minutes. Justin Melillo gets us underway at the front. He'll have Adam Briggs in what looks to be a Shark-inspired next-level racing machine. Vicente Salas does not have those Williams Esports colors on this week, but he'll be alongside Leo Mora in that Omega Sim Racing entry. Wes Graham and then Brendan Lichtenberg 5th and 6th positions. They've seen plenty of battling already to start off 2023's All-Star Invitational. Mia Rose, Mikey Lawrence, and then Trevor Teal, Keenan Kusin, the rest of the top 10. Then we get up to those drivers up towards the front in race number 1. Nate Stewart just missed out on a podium. Blake Reynolds, Luke Knupp, Zachary Dratkin. The podium that will have to start their way from the back and work their way forward with no land rush start to really help them out. That's one of the major talking points, I guess, that these drivers might have in their debrief. Don't forget, if you're just joining us, new memberships are 40% off. Head to iRacing.com to get started on your iRacing journey today. I was doing a bit of driving at Wild West last week to get ready to get this series underway. I did a little bit of driving at Crandon as well this week to get underway. Not in the Pro 2 Lite, but in the Pro 4. And Josh, the thing that I am always surprised by in a lot of ways is A, how bumpy the tracks are, and B, how difficult the cars can be to control over said bumps.
Yeah, they are very, very difficult, especially once you don't have that horsepower to kind of power your way through a lot of those bumps. And setup can be a big thing when we talk about the World Championship. That control over those bumps is going to be a massive, massive factor. But Arjuna, I don't want to hear you talk about bumps until you get in Cam Peterson's motion and VR rig. I don't think you've felt real bumps in a virtual truck just yet.
Have you had the pleasure of trying out that rig?
No, I have not. I really want to. I need to find out when I can get an invitation to Cam's house.
For those that are wondering what we're talking about, Cam Peterson, who has both the pole positions at this track, also grabbed 2 race victories here in 2022, did not return for the 2023 Off-Road Championship Series, but he races not just in virtual reality, as plenty of our drivers do, but also with a motion rig. And it's always crazy to see him just kind of being bobbled around as he was working his way around the track. A lot of respect for it, and definitely added an extra dimension. I don't think anyone in the current Championship Series runs a motion rig, although that's maybe a challenge for us in the commentary booth to send down their way. Melillo, Briggs, Salas, Mora, the front 2 rows. Josh, it's always hard to ask for a winner in an All-Star Invitational with a full invert. I'm going to make you get off the fence.
Okay, all right. See, here's the thing. Vicente Salas would have been in the top 5 of that last race, or at least close, if he hadn't have had that contact and ended up at the back of the field. I love Justin. Justin is an amazing person. but who's going to win this race? Vicente Salas. I mean, he's starting third, and eNASCAR veteran. He still has an A license in dirt road from his rallycross times. I'm going with Salas.
I think we're underway already because Justin Melillo said, wait, I'm in control of the field. Let's go racing as soon as possible. Underway for the second time tonight for the iRacing Off-Road All-Star Invitational. Melillo's got a couple of car lengths. Yes, Briggs has already been passed by Salas, who's up to second, but it's going to be in through that back straightaway where surely the elbows will come out. Those behind trying to work their way forward aggressively. Salas gets the bumper behind from Briggs, but now 3 wide for 5th position as we work down the back straight.
Everybody gonna dive into that hairpin corner, but the question is, who's gonna make it out alive? As we've got to dive to the inside, closer to the midfield, and working their way through 2 by 2. Everybody gets through cleanly, and Justin Melillo holds the race lead. But here comes Vicente Salas. Big run to the back bumper of the 53, and now big run to the inside, puts the 55 now to the race lead.
And importantly, with both drivers giving each other enough room, they'll be able to sort things out surely in before the jump. Salas gets his car pointed in before he gets into the air, and as he lands on the power, spools his way to the lead. Briggs and Graham still fighting third, fourth, with Mia Rose in the mix as well. No one from the back really making major inroads. Nate Stewart's up 3, Luke Knup's up 3 as well, but maybe now, in through these final couple of corners, they'll get even more physical. Mia Rose up to 4th.
Oh, but she's dealing with a lot of drivers around her right now. She's trying to get by Wes Graham. Now spinning her out on the outside. That was Leo Mora. And I don't think it's exactly what Leo was looking to do. And now Rose into the infield, flipped up and over that wall. She'll keep going, but P14 now.
Yep, and he, I think, had to find a way back out onto track. Adam Briggs spins, and in the midst of oncoming traffic jam out of turn number 3. Not sure who all got mixed up in that one, but Adam definitely went up and over. Maybe Luke Knupp got a bit of that one as well, but in through turn 4, that tight hairpin. Nate Stewart's up to 4th position, and now only 4 seconds off of the race leader.
I think Kuzin might have gotten a piece of that one as well when Adam Briggs started going flipping, but that was Nate Stewart grabbing that spot. Now Leo Mora looking to grab 4th spot back, as we have now a lot of separation at the front of the field. Salas ahead by 1.3 seconds. Melillo now ahead of Wes the Mess by 1.3 seconds. 1.3 seconds back to Nate Stewart. Then you've got the closest battle on the racetrack right now with Mora on his back bumper. Teal and Drapkin are in a battle further on back, and how about this mess as everybody fights for position in this midfield, almost polar opposite of what we saw in race number 1, Arjuna. It was much more pockets of battles. Now we've got everybody in a group from about 6th on back.
The Mess is up front, sorry. Wes the Mess is in 3rd. It was right there. I just had to slip that one in.
It was easy. All right. Is that how we're doing this season? Okay.
I mean, you set me up so perfectly. Almost 3 wide, as Drapkin says. Enough of Arjuna's puns. Let's give him some racing to talk about as well. And is he going to make the outside work? Around the outside of Trevor Teal. Will get a better run off the corner and up to 7th spot. That's the experience that comes from the real world. We'll duck to the inside of Brendan Lichtenberg. That might not be too much of a fight either.
Look at that dive from Drapkin. Does he do it? No, he doesn't. He makes contact right at the apex, and that sends Drapkin down a handful of spots. Now Trevor Teal will work his way on by, but that is the exact opposite of what you want to do in that corner. He sent it in, but meeting him at the apex, I'm not exactly sure who that was. I think that was either Mora. It was Mora. Mora met him at the apex. That contact was made and ruined all the momentum of Drapkin, but look at that contact he's trying to make to gain more spots. We're 3 wide, almost 4.
And is that Keenan Kusin who's been squeezed into the grass on the inside? I think it was, but once again, we all figure it out. Trevor Teal slides a little bit wide in his 72. Drapkin cuts back up underneath, and he's going to potentially now be stuck on the outside in through Calamity Corner.
Whoa.
It's great fighting. It was all going to end in disaster for someone, and poor Trevor Teal's gone up and over and at least puts on a show for us.
It always seems like the bad luck happens to Trevor Teal, and I think that was something that we haven't talked about yet, but it is worth a mention. And it seems weird. We only talk about it in this World Championship, but it's the jumps. And Rallycross, of course, has jumps at all their tracks. So we still talk about it there. But what we're talking about here is how these trucks, for better or for worse, are almost open wheel. It's very weird to think about, but the wheels sit in such a way, and here's that replay of Mia Rose earlier on in this race getting turned around and hopping that outside wall and into the infield, trying to take out the start line pylon. But these trucks, when they get in the air, those wheels can touch, or the wheels can touch the bodies in the air, just sends them every which way. And that's exactly what happened to Teal. The wheel hit the side of the truck, gains traction, and sent him off to the side.
It was Leo Mora, by the way, that got involved with Mia Rose. And to your point, that's where, in some ways, I feel like these drivers have a bit of an advantage compared to rallycross drivers, because there's more physical inertia. They're just heavier. And so when you do have contact in the air, potentially you can get away with it. Trevor Teal might take exception to that one, though. Front of the field, though, your pick, Vicente Salas, no commentator's curse there. He's 4.2 seconds clear of Justin Miller, though, who's doing a great job to hold on to second. But halfway through this race, Field's getting stacked up behind, as we'll take another look at what happened to poor Trevor Teal in the air.
Yeah, it's exactly what I said. It was just the wheels in the air touch the bodies, and that's grip. Of course, the air is not going to have any grip, nothing for those tires to grip onto. They find something to grip onto, especially if, I mean, it's more important. Oh, Jesus, good Lord. Everybody 4 wide trying to get out of the hairpin, and that could have gone incredibly south, and I'm very shocked that it didn't.
Outside for Leo Mora, who will grab third as Nate Stewart up the inside tries to squeeze West the mess. We are definitely door bagging over the jump, almost 3 rows deep of 2 wide action through the penultimate couple of quarters. My goodness gracious me, it's great to see. The one that's loving it the most, though, Vicente Salas, 7 seconds clear, 3 wide, almost 4 wide will fan out in through the penultimate corner. Knup's trying to find a way on through. Stewart's got the outside and up to second spot. Oh, it's going to be a brawl for second in the final couple of laps.
A brawl for second place. I mean, we're 4 wide right now and up onto the outside wall when Zachary Drapkin, that sends him back into 5th. Nate Stewart at the front of this mess is saying, guys, go ahead and keep racing, but Moore is getting the bumper out again. 3 wide, Moore in the middle.
Well, we're getting high expectations.
Whoa.
Oh, poor Justin Melillo, not going to have high expectations, though, but somehow he lands on all 4s. Oh, Zachary Drapkin got tagged by Leo Mora. I don't know how he held on to it, but he did, only for it to end 3 wide with Wes Graham. And now still battling Blake Reynolds, trying to tuck down low. And, well, he's going to get swarmed as they run their way in towards turn number 5. Absolute madness, and well, hopefully this is what the off-road championship drivers are watching right now to get in the mood.
They are going to get in the mood for controlled chaos if they're tuning into this while making their final practice preparations. But I mean, Reynolds in 5th, Drapkin in 6th, very used to seeing both of them. Luke Knupp in 3rd as well, very used to seeing him up here at the front. Same thing with Nate Stewart, but Salas has taken the lead and ran away with it at this moment, sitting 8 seconds up front in the lead. But Mora using what I would personally say a little bit too much of that bumper to make a couple of those passes. It's either the just the effect of one wreck happens around you, every wreck happens around you, or it's not a coincidence that every wreck is happening around that 30 machine right now.
And so Salas has such a lead that we do have 2 laps to go, by the way, so there's still plenty to fight for. And on board with Blake Reynolds trying to cut down low underneath Drapkin, underneath Mora as well. In front, you see the side-by-side. It's Stewart and Knupp that will be door-to-door for a moment, but I think Knupp's going to have to really send it deep down on low. And this is where Josh was talking about parking it on the exit of where the car wants to go, and Knupp's trying to find that groove, but Stewart was wise to it, manages to find his way back up to second, up towards turn 5.
They will take the white flag this time by, and it is the battle for second. Is Stewart now watching in the mirror? There's that slam down to the dirt, and immediately you got to be set up for that corner. It is not slam back to the ground after a jump and then find that next corner, get set up for it, and hit that apex. You're already in the entry of the corner when you are still in the air off of that jump. You've got to be set up right as you hit the dirt to get into that corner, and that's exactly what Stewart did, but through the last couple of corners, wasn't enough to keep the 05 of Luke Knupp far. Knupp goes wide, trying to slice it back in, but the white flag is out with Salas in the lead.
And so it's going to be Knupp on the outside. What a wonderful setup. This is wonderful racecraft from both. Stewart knows he's not going to get the move done. Cuts back into line in that number 75. All the while, they pulled away slightly from Leo Mora, so they'll be able to focus on just the two of them, duking it out. Look at them behind, still squabbling. Reynolds, Mora, door to door, banging with one another on corner exit. They're putting on a show. The reduction in horsepower, if anything, keeping them closer together. Big send from Stewart. Knupp tries to leave him plenty of room, but more contact made. They're going to be door to door on the run into turn 5.
Stewart let it ride off the exit, of that hairpin and just used up Knupp on the outside. Now they're side by side again, laying on each other as they go into the jump. Clearing Stewart is Knupp. Does Stewart have anything else that he can contend with? He'll have to get the bumper out, but Salas is looking 10 seconds in the rearview mirror and saying thank you very much for this race 2 victory. I'm going to go walk away with a checkered flag.
Remember, Salas is a history-making driver, the last ever winner of an iRacing Rallycross Championship race. He'll come across the line to win the second iRacing Off-Road All-Star Invitational here at the Crandon International Raceway in that Williams Esports number 55. It'll be a close fight for second, but Luke Knupp should do enough to be able to grab second in front of Nate Stewart, although at the line, just a timing glitch indeed. They were separated by half a second. Drapkin, Graham, Reynolds, Mora, Lawrence, Lichtenberg, and Teal, I believe, the rest of the top 10. But absolute madness. Someone's not very happy about something in all of that. It's a good thing that damage is not enabled here today.
Somebody upset after that? I'm shocked. They were laying on each other 4 wide. Who wouldn't be upset with that? I know all of us viewers are very excited that we got to see some clean racing that way.
So an interesting one, that is for sure. And I have no doubt that we will enjoy these drivers out there next time out in 7 days' time doing just similar sort of stuff. It's Vicente Salas that wins 12 seconds clear at the end of the likes of Luke Knupp, Nate Stewart, Zachary Drapkin, and Wes Graham, the top 5, with Blake Reynolds, Leo Mora, Mikey Lawrence, Brendan Lichtenberg, Trevor Teal, your top 10. Mia Rose, Keenan Kusin in front of Justin Milillo, who really tried to jump the start the best of his abilities. It did not work out, unfortunately. Adam Briggs scored in 14th, rounds out the field. Let's make our way then down towards the victory lane, where we can chat with hopefully a couple of our drivers. And let's chat first with someone who's going to be staying here at Crandon, keeping his attention on the Off-Road Championship Series. That's Vicente Salas, who joins us now, a winner in this All-Star Invitational. Vicente, that looked like a interesting race 1 for you as you tried to keep clean and then struggled at the end. And that set up what was a rather boring race 2, I guess.
Well, race 1, I hopped in here. I was actually out at the shop running some errands. I got back, hopped on here real quick. Didn't really have much time to practice, so hopped in here cold turkey. Was kind of struggling first race, running 3rd, 4th there, and then we kind of slid backwards. But super fun to put together a second race, and I'm happy to win it for Rogue Racing, Williams Esports, and my guys at Jesse Woodgie Motorsports.
Hey, let's talk about Rogue Racing as well, because you're part of the crew for one Jarrett Liebert, who became a rookie to win on debut, and a really impressive win as well, just controlling the tempo of the race last week. We've seen your dirt experience. He was building your setup on the strategy and spotting for you at Charlotte when you grabbed your victory. How cool is it for you to now kind of be on the other side of that?
It's really, really cool, being both on the driver's side and then on the crew chief strategy side. It's been really fun. And, I can't credit that Charlotte win to Jarrett enough. He put in so much work with me during that week and during that whole entire year. And, it was really cool to turn the speed around in that series. And, I mean, it's such an honor to come back here in the Dirt Road DWC and still be a part of it.
Well, delighted to have you with us. Hopefully the first of a couple of appearances here in the All-Star Invitational, Vicente. We'll let you get off and focus on what's coming up next. Congratulations on the win.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Thank you very much. And once again, shout out to Williams Esports, Miramar Financial, Jesse Woodgie Motorsports, iRacing Association, Team Rogue, and everybody that supports me. I appreciate you guys, and hopefully that was some good fun to watch.
Look at that media training. 2 years ago was the last time I think I interviewed Vicente on iRacing World Championship broadcast. A lot's changed since then. Zachary Drapkin wins yet another race. He's standing by with Joshua Lee.
Well, Zachary Drapkin, of course, in very, very familiar territory for you to be top step of the podium in an all-star race. How was that one? In race 1, grabbing that win. Race 2, having to fight through the pack, but still ending up in the top 5.
Oh yeah, that whole race was crazy, especially starting in the back of the second heat. It was just really making it through the field and having to be smart and smooth to get through there. And I luckily had a spotter for this one. Tim Esimer helped me out and got me through the pack. It was really cool to actually have somebody in your ear, and just like real racing in the real world. So we're where we're at, where we want to be, hopefully. And I'm just stoked to be here.
Of course, these Pro 2 lights, last week being at Wild West, this week being at Crandon. What's the main challenge in these Pro 2 lights and what I would consider a longer track here with Crandon? Of course, longer than Wild West, longer than Wild Horse. I believe this is at least the long configuration of Crandon being the longest track we'll go to on the calendar. What's the main challenge in these Pro 2 lights to get them to go up and go in these longer tracks?
You pretty much said it really well in your statement right there. Is momentum. We have to keep momentum. It's running laps and learning the lines, because it's kind of like if you look at like some of the dirt midget guys, when they go into the corner, they got a lot of power, but they also have to keep their momentum or else they're not going to make it to the next corner. So really being smooth and carrying momentum, I felt like is a big help in this, and just keeping it where we could be at. I was stoked to be where I'm at.
And great racing for you today, Zach. And thank you for joining us here in the commentary booth after your 2 races here in the All-Star Series. We'll see you when we continue racing in 1 week's time.
Thanks, Josh. See you guys later.
Great to hear again from Zachary Drapkin, Arjuna, one of the best when it comes to off-road. And I said it last year, and I'll say it again. Can't imagine where he would be if he was competing in the Off-Road Championship Series, but we'll have to settle with watching him compete in the All-Star Series and walk away with some wins. Not every win. He is still human.
Let's have a quick chat with Justin Milillo as we get set to go racing for the Off-Road Championship Series. Justin, you've got the plug in the background, by the way. I see you're already getting people aware of where they should keep an eye on everything World Championship related. But I want to ask about the start of race number 2, because it seemed a little bit like the meme out of Fast and Furious, where you hit the nitrous button a little bit early, tried to get away from the rest of those trying to chase you down.
I just wanted to have a chance, and I thought if I could spread out the field earlier on, there'd be less chance for me to go upside down. And I still ended up upside down at one point. But I held on to second for quite a while there, so I'm very proud of that.
Hey, it looks like a lot of fun, especially when you guys went 3, went 4, I think almost 5 wide at some point. How much of that do you think we should be in for when it comes to the 4-wheel drive trucks? Because if that's any sort of, expectations being set for the Championship Series drivers, boy, have you set the bar high.
Yeah, well, I mean, these guys are they going to actually have the Land Rush start in this one? If
they
so,
should.
It's going to be really fun to see. It's going to be really sketchy going into that first corner as well, but they made it through for the most part last season a couple times, and I think that they can do it again tonight. We'll have to keep an eye on that. I'm looking forward to it though.
Well, I see you're already in our chat getting ready to watch on. Thanks for joining us as always, Justin, and we'll see you 7 days from today.
You got it.
Justin Milillo joins us in the commentary booth to round out the all-star portion of the broadcast, but do not go anywhere. The iRacing Off-Road Championship Series has landed at the Big House, and next up, 2 main events with the best drivers in sim racing.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
In just 49 days, we will return to the big house to crown the next king of the dirt. But today, we are at the Crandon International Raceway with championship intentions laid down and our season to dive into. Welcome to the 2023 iRacing Off-Road Championship live on RaceBot TV and the iRacing Esports Network. Hi folks, Arjuna Kankipati along with Joshua Lee getting ready for what is bound to be an electric hour or so here on the iRacing Esports Network, because we've seen already what 2x2 at the start can produce here at the Crandon International Raceway. Imagine what we can do, Josh, with more than 20,000 horsepower and sending trucks 10 wide at the start of this race.
It's exhilarating, it's exciting, it's very challenging for these drivers, and you mentioned it in the open. We are going to crown a champion here at Crandon later on in this calendar. So this is a great start for these drivers to either start themselves on their championship journey or set themselves up for that championship race. I do not doubt that Connor Berry, when he came into the first Crandon race on the calendar last year, was thinking that he'll come back here to crown a champion at the end of the season. I got to learn as much as I can now to be ready for then.
And especially with that big dirt refresh that we've talked a little bit about, given that this is the first race here at Crandon since that a major change, what takeaways can you take from this? Hopefully with some points on the board as well. Quick look at the schedule as we get ready to rumble here for the first of, like I said, 2 main events. We are at Crandon for the first of 3 times this season, because let's not forget we will have an all-star round. We'll bring ourselves the Pro 2 truck. So again, 700 horsepower 2-wheel drive. That's not the Pro 2 Lite, to the short version of Crandon before we return on August the 23rd with a champion to be crowned. Of course, every track on the point-paying schedule visited twice, but we slightly mix up the order to keep things interesting. And of course, with 1 round in the books, let's quickly talk about points and how we accumulate them, because I think that's going to be an important talking point with qualifying underway. And Josh Lee, we know how difficult it is to get pole positions here in the iRacing Off-Road Championship. Joel Blewett did a great job a week ago. That was 5 points immediately put onto the board.
Pole position is a massively difficult thing to do, but it is something that is going to be important, and I think is going to be the catalyst in that championship. That's 5 points right there. Don't even need to start the race. 5 points, you got it before you even leave the track for the race. Then you've got the race points. Of course, all drivers will earn points, all 24 slots. However, 2 points per position is huge. We saw last year, especially when it was 3 drivers, Swain, Edmondson, and Barry, all fighting for that championship and all very close together. Those 2 points per position were massive in trying to get those points on the board.
Let's talk then about how the actual championship has played out. Just 1 week, of course, complete, but with 2 races, slightly different mix-up than maybe you'd expect. It's the same 2 at the front as it was for the most of 2022. Not a surprise to see Keaton Swain, Connor Barry in the mix. Josh Edmondson picked up right where he left off after a consistent 2022 to be up there in 3rd. Joel Blewett, Jarrett Liebert, the rookies, very much bringing the strength. And then the talking points behind them, not just Justin Kay, the rookie, of course, Tyson Miller and Crystal King, Legion Speed Sport, Factory Sim Sport, came in with speed into round number 1, and Crystal King, who really struggled in a lot of ways in 2022, was able to get the do-over she was hoping for, 7th in points and 2 top 10s.
That is perfectly done for Crystal King to get an amazing start in this calendar, but Swain starts off exactly where he left off. Connor Berry a little bit further back. Josh Edmondson's up there. I'm still really impressed by Blewett and Liebert. Amazingly done by the both of them. Rookie seasons inside the top 5. Beautifully done. How about Justin Kay, rookie season inside the top 10? These rookies are showing they are here to play.
Absolutely. Team Gold, Team Rogue, a couple of those rookies. Keep your eye on them. Let's talk about this track once again, though. We've already seen the track map once, but we can look from up above and get a better sense of maybe the overall picture, if not the up and down nature of this Crandon International Raceway. Located in Wisconsin, 1.5 miles. It's got 8 turns. Our pole position record last year was a 1:17.1. Our race lap record was a 1:17.2. Just to give you a sense of the times, that is about 6 seconds longer than Bark River, which is where we also go for 1.5 miles of racing. And this is one of those tracks, Josh, that, like we said earlier, has been hosting top-level dirt racing for going on 50+ years. Everybody wants to win here.
Fan favorite, driver favorite, and honestly, I think it's the toughest track that we are going to go to on the calendar, purely because Look at the amount of corners. I mean, Wild West, 4 corners. Wild Horse Pass, 4 corners. Bark River, a little bit more, I think around 7 or 8. We're looking at a solid number of corners here. I believe we're capping out at 8 total corners, not to include all the kinks in the back straightaway and kinks everywhere else. This is a very difficult track to get right because there's a lot that can go wrong.
And with qualifying underway, let's talk about how the running order has kind of been mixed up. I mentioned Legion Speed Sport and Factory Sim Sport in their collaboration very much brought their speed a week ago, and it's not changed too much. You've got Nicholas Dashalet at the top, Crystal Kings in third, Jarrett Liebert's up in second still, and look at the margin between the drivers. A quarter of a second splits effectively the top 11 or 12.
This is an incredibly close qualifying. And how about Nicholas Dashalet up towards the front in that race lead currently? Liebert behind, Crystal King in third. Beautiful lap from her. Jacob Rafoss, Connor Berry through the top 5. These close times, I think they're going to stay like this, Arjuna. Everybody that has laid down what I would call an official time. Tom Grady did lay down a time, but messed it up a little bit. He's in the mid 115s. Everybody's within 6/10.
I think it's just Brandon Proudfoot and Josh Edmondson that we are waiting for to come to the line with short time in qualifying. Important change for 2023 as well is the fact that we have no top 8 invert after qualifying for the first of the main events. And so as neither Edmondson or Proudfoot will improve and will stay where they are in qualifying, Nicholas Dashalet not just grabbing what will be, I'm sure, a very, very happy podium, finds his way forward on the grid in qualifying to potentially grab a second podium, a first win in his iRacing Off-Road Championship Series career. The quickest of them all, the Pole Award winner, Nicholas Dashalet. Let's run you down through the starting grid for the first of our 2 10-lap races. Jarrett Liebert brings the speed once again. He'll line up alongside Dashalet on the inside of that 10-wide formation. Then you get Crystal King, Jacob Rafoss, Connor Barry, Tyson Miller, all alongside before we find 7th position and Keaton Swain, Parker Retzlaff, Trenton Briley, and then Josh Edmondson. Row number 2 finds Quinton Dalomo, Joel Blewett in 12th position, Christopher Plumley, Alex Bergeron, Killian Dalomo, Nicholas Wellhouse, Keith Jeffrey, Connor Parise, and then Josh Fox and Justin Kay. All by themselves, it's going to be Cody Retzlaff, Tom Grady, and Brandon Proudfoot making just the 23 trucks out there and getting ready to rumble. One driver, unfortunately, missing in action today. I will give a shout out as well to Tom Grady, who is racing from a unidentified hotel somewhere in America. He's got a laptop, he's got a wheel that he's attached to the desk, and he's very much hoping here, Josh, just to get some points on the board, given how little the margin it was for him last year to miss out on getting in towards the top 10, and securing a World Championship license.
You talk about missing out, Arjuna. Josh Edmondson, I think, is that one driver that's missing in action. No, he's up there in 10th. Unsure who that driver is that is missing in action, but that's going to be tough for them to rebound after not earning any points tonight.
This is where sometimes it's helpful that we can order the cars by their numbers. Don't forget the number that they've got on the side of their truck directly correlates to their finishing position either in last year's World Championship or for the rookies in the field where they finish in the qualifying series in the build-up to this. I'm going to quickly just scan through the names. I think Terry Miller missing in action today, the oldest ever iRacing World Championship competitor, not going to be out there. I think we're ready to go, though, for the first of 2 main events here at Crandon. 10 laps thrown up onto the board. The drivers go racing with the land rush start. Look at that sight over the bumps, whooping themselves in towards turn number 5. On the inside, is Nicholas Dashalet going to be able to hold on? He'll slide aggressively to the outside of the corner and compromise those behind. Somehow, 3-4 wide. We don't flip initially, but now up and over the jump. Couple of cars behind struggling. The rest of the cars streaking their way on through.
That was Wellhouse and Plumley, and now one driver riding the wall. I think that's Parker Retzlaff. He falls all the way down to 22nd. Dachelet continues at the front. Jarrett Liebert behind. And you can see everybody now trying to gather as much positions as they can early. This is the easiest opportunity they've got as Connor Parisi hip checks the 4 of Edmondson around, and one driver goes flipping, now makes contact with the 4.
I think that was Crystal King after such an impressive qualifying performance. Absolutely no luck. And was that another car tipped up and over as we head down at the end, or rather the start of the first official lap of racing? It is still Dachelet from Liebert. Rafos is up a position. Barry is as well. Connor Parisi is up 12 positions into 6th, making full advantage of the land rush start. But already 3 drivers, I think, getting involved in major incidents.
3 drivers that were quick as well. Dachelet pulls away with the lead. No change in your top 2 as Liebert sits in 2nd place. Rafos in 3rd, Barry 4th, Blewett 5th. How about biggest mover off of that land rush start? 2 of them actually, Arjuna, Parisi and Proudfoot, both equally up 11 spots.
Note the red number board on the side of Keaton Swain's Sim Coach's number 2. Note it also on the windshield. Points leader will be denoted with the red through every point of the championship to just make it that much easier. On the left side of the screen, note the green line on the tower indicating the top 8 invert. Looked like a slide behind for one of the next level racing machines. Edmondson got tangled up there with someone else. My goodness, we know that Crandon is all about chaos, but not usually after the start. It's still continuing to go on as we've officially ended lap number 1.
I'm not sure what happened there to Edmondson. It looked like it was just a tangle up between, it looks like 3 drivers actually got involved in that one, and that was a lot of contact with the 11 of Brandon Proudfoot as well. Through the hairpin, change up at the front between Barry and Liebert, and Barry now going to fall back a solid handful of positions as they fight their way now through the first corner off of the land rush. Barry watching behind from 5th.
Got to be careful. It was Barry and Rafos, the teammates in the Nitro Circus sim racing machines, that had a bit of contact there. Can't afford to trip over one another, especially when they've got a quick rookie in their midst as well. Joe Blewett, I wonder if he had any sleep before this race, given that it is going on 3 or 4 in the morning in the UK, but you can't sleep much when you're actually racing, that's for sure. It will kick you straight back into gear, as we'll come around to the end of lap number 2 with Nicholas Dachelet somewhat holding station at the front. Managing the tempo of the race, I think, is the best way to say it right now. Liebert, Rafos, Barry, and Blewett a little bit more content to fight, as we'll take a look at the replay of, I think, a couple of the moments. One being with Josh Edmondson.
I think that was the last incident with Edmondson, and there was a lot of background to what you just saw on the replay there. They were hooked together for that entire first straightaway. Since that last corner, they were hooked together. The 11 was all over the 4, and it led to a crescendo into that corner where the 4 just got sent around and flipping up and over. After, when he tried to get it back going straight, he flipped that truck up onto its lid and back onto all 4 wheels and continued on. Unfortunate for Edmondson, he sits P20 now, and he's gonna have to reevaluate what he's gonna do in race number 2 and in the rest of this race. Still got a long way to go as we sit on lap 3.
Jacob Rafos really trying to make amends for a torrid opening round. Qualified 11th, did not get the speed out of the truck in qualifying. Finished the first race 11th, finished the second race in 18th spot. Outside of the top 10 in both. Won't be thrilled. He's got his teammate, the champ, on his case as well. Good to see the Nitro Circus sim racing cars bringing a little bit more speed today. Finding maybe a couple of tenths here and there relative to what they had underneath them 7 days ago. Still a little bit of a choo-choo train at the front for the time being. You mentioned tire wear is a bit of a factor. We're talking 900 horses powering each of these trucks now, Josh, and so therefore 10 laps of racing here means that by the time we get to the end, not just track evolution coming into play, but how much grip you actually get from the 4 contact patches underneath you.
We talk about that update. That update introduced a massive reworking to tire wear and how tire wear happens in the sim on these off-road trucks. To boil it down to extremely basic terms, it's increased. It's not exactly going to be the tire wear that you're used to, whether you're driving a GT car at Spa, whether you're driving a NASCAR Next Gen at over. You're not going to get that physical wear of the tire. You're going to get heat. You're going to lose grip. And as the track continues to gloss over and lose grip in itself, you're just equally going to heat those tires up more and equally lose more grip. It's not exactly like spinning, losing grip. A lot of it is plowing. They're going to be dealing with a lot of understeer, trying to get these trucks to point through the middle of the corner. Massive challenge, especially at this long track. Yes, we're only on lap number 4, but you got to think, or lap number 5, excuse me, but you got to think, we've completed 4 laps, plus an extra half a lap with the land rush, and we are running 1 minute 15 second lap times throughout the field. It is a long lap compared to a lot of the other tracks.
We'll be halfway through this time by as well. Liebert's right on the case of Dasher Lake, keeping it well and truly honest. You've got all those diecasts behind, and now an opportunity. Using that four-wheel drive. Yes, they both ground to a halt off the corner, but Liebert had an overlap, and yes, he concedes for the time being, but the opportunity presented itself, and we're still plenty of fighting to go. You'll know that that's one place to get it past. The trouble becomes that if you're too committed to an opportunity, you've got a young Jacob Rafos behind that might want to get a piece of this fun as well. And it's in through this final couple of corners where you feel Liebert setting things up. Dashley tries to squeeze.
Liebert all over the back bumper, the 15 of Dashley. Where does he set up this pass? He can set it up here in the final corner. 5 laps to go this time by, but he has to remember whenever he sets up a pass, he's got Rafos behind, and Rafos sees an opportunity to take over second place. That's a bump to the 25 and second place to the 10.
And this is where, yes, Jarrett Liebert might have the victory, but he's still trying to get to grips with the racecraft here in this Off-Road Championship Series. It's a little bit different from the eNASCAR scene that maybe Liebert will have been a lot more familiar with, although I guess there are some similarities between short track racing and short course racing in that a bump and run is a very inevitable reality. Cast your mind back to the end of race 2 of our very first event here at Crandon in 2022 when Keaton Swain got pushed out wide by Connor Barry to grab what was the second victory. As it stands right now, though, by the way, if Nicholas Dashley is able to grab the win here in our 19 races that we would have had, it would have been a 10th different winner. That's how competitive this championship is.
Arjuna, I said earlier in the All-Stars it was looking like a repeat of 2022. This is also looking like a repeat of 2022. And of course, we have Dashley up at the front, Rafos, Liebert, of course, being a brand new driver, but Connor Barry in 4th. He is doing the exact same thing he did in 2022. Consistent, but not winning. Second place last week, along with a 3rd place, and now running in 4th. He's consistently at the front when, especially the driver he's fighting right now for the top spot being Keaton Swain. Josh Edmondson, 3 points behind him coming into this race, is sitting behind him in 5th. Barry's looking to gain some points off of this race.
And you can see in some ways a transformation for Nicholas Dashley. Left last year 15th in points. Now came into this season the winner of the qualifying series, and behind him sees a swap around for second. Jarrett Liebert takes advantage of that tree turn down at turn 4 to be able to take for a moment second spot away from Jacob Rafos. They'll go door to door, sweeping down the hill through the right hander of turn 5. Liebert back in front for a moment, but here comes the champ. Connor Barry's on the scene, and Connor Barry moves to second.
That is how you do it for the champion, but now he's mid-middle, 3 wide. Rafos to the inside in the 10, looking to cover off the spot is Barry. Barry sends it in. He goes way wide. Contact with Liebert to Rafos. That'll boost Rafos into second place and keep him that spot. And now look who's on the scene, Arjuna. That is the 2 of Keaton Swain making more contact. Now trying to grab the spot on Swain is Joel Blewett.
Dashley, is this going to help him run away at the front? Now almost 1 full second margin there. Swain up the inside of Joel Blewett. These 2 made contact at the end of our opening race of the season. Keaton Swain took that debut victory away from Joel Blewett, and he'll try to rip away 5th away. Now as they exit out of turn number 3, Joel Blewett showing some really good cool, calm pressure under what is a attack from Keaton Swain to be able to use that berm to his advantage as well. Connor Barry officially is up to second spot, and as much as he talked about consistency getting both Barry and Swain to where they were in the championship last year, I'll give this to you, Josh. Knowing how how feisty the front of this field looks. Can you rely on being consistent, or do you have to be consistently at the very front?
I don't know. Consistency worked for Connor Berry last year, but you just mentioned it. There's a lot of drivers that are strong in this field. I don't think he's going to be able to rely on that this year. He was able to kind of fly under the radar. It was almost in the middle of the season, Arjuna. It was like, where did Connor Berry come from? And then look at the results and realize, oh, he was always in the top 5. He never went anywhere. He was always there. He just wasn't consistently winning. So we did not see Connor Berry going to the front that easy. I think he's going to have to at least put a couple wins under his belt, because if he doesn't, I mean, who will? Jared Liebert won race 2. He's sitting 4th. He's got a good chance to win again, especially in race 2.
I'll try and phrase it this way. Keaton Swain has 18 top 10, 18 starts coming into this. He's only got 13 top 5s. Connor Berry has 17 top 10s, but 16 top 5s. Is being up towards the front maybe more important this year, especially with no top 8 invert? Jacob Frost back up to 2nd. Connor Berry down to 4th, and now defending from Keaton Swain, who looks to the outside. We're coming to the final lap of the race. Swain makes some contact, slides out wide, but holds on to 5th spot.
That was contact that sent Keaton Swain dwindling down in that battle. You're on board with Swain now as he tries to regroup, reground himself to get by Connor Berry. Nicholas Dachelet does not want to look in his rearview mirror right now as Berry looks for a move on Liebert. 3 wide. Liebert makes contact with Rafas. That's not going to be enough to make the pass happen. They'll stay side by side as Berry looks on, trying to stay inside the top 5. White flag this time by as Liebert pushes Rafas up the track, and Swain is now side by side again with Berry.
Contact through Calamity Corner, but it means 1.5 miles left for Nicholas Dachelet to hold on to a 1.5 second margin. Rafos strong arms his way into 2nd, but Liebert, after the victory a week ago, surely emboldened in the fight. Swain tries to get to the inside of Connor Berry. It's fight for 2nd on back. Nicholas Dachelet must be loving the sight.
That's exactly what Dachelet wants to see. Into the hairpin. Who makes the moves? To the inside goes Swain. Bodies Connor Berry. Sends him back into a battle now with Joel Blewett. And Berry now fighting from 5th. Can Swain hold on to 4th is the big question, as Liebert and Rafas still battle for 2nd place.
And this is now going to be a setup potentially for Jarrett Liebert if he can switch back to the inside as they head towards that penultimate corner. Not going to get a 3 wide moment here, but still tension in the air for 2nd on back. Remember, for 8th position, Quintin Del Lomo's in a great spot to take advantage of a top 8 invert for the 2nd main event of the evening. But as Jacob Rafos tries to slide wide, leave Jarrett Liebert some space, it's as Nicholas Dachelet breaks away at the front. What a transformation in the off-season, from missing out on a World Championship license once again to winning for the first time. Take a bow, Nicholas Dachelet, the 10th winner in the iRacing Off-Road Championship Series. And I've got to say, it's great to see the emotion.
That's the emotion. That is what this series means to these drivers. That is what virtual racing means to these competitors. And Nicholas Dachelet, I've watched him for years. He has wanted this one bad, and he has it, Arjuna. I'm personally so happy for him. I can't imagine what he is feeling behind the wheel. And yes, burn it down. You earned that one.
Oh. The racing's real. The cars maybe not. The racing's real. The accomplishments are real. The friendships you make are everything. And Factory Simsport will celebrate alongside Nicholas Dachelet, the 23-year-old, the latest winner in the iRacing history books. Just waiting for the final couple of cars to come across the line, and we'll grab you your race results. Dachelet will try and celebrate as long as he can. We've got one more race still left to come, and Dachelet will have to try and do it from 8th spot. Jacob Rafos able to hold on in the absolute battle that we saw for 2nd spot, while Jarrett Liebert adds to the podium count. Boy, the rookies are looking feisty. The champ in 4th will get some more points on the board and add a 17th top 5 finish in 19 starts. Joel Blewett, another top 5 finish, Team Gold, looking very good with Trenton Briley right behind. It's Keaton Swain in 7th, who will start in second spot alongside with Quintin Dalomo. As much as we talk about a top 8 invert, it's the one track where Quintin will think it really doesn't matter at all. Alex Bergeron, Tyson Miller, 9th and 10th positions will round out the top 10. Josh Fox in 11th spot in front of Connor Parisi, Keith Jeffrey, Justin Kay, Parker Retzlaff, Killian Dalomo, Brandon Proudfoot, Crystal King, Tom Grady, and Josh Edmondson. A couple of those names going to be very frustrated with how that went. Crystal King, after a great qualifying, sees just how crazy Crandon can truly be, but Nicholas Wellhouse, Cody Retzlaff, and Christopher Plumley all at least one lap down from your leader. Fastest lap of 1:14 from Keaton Swain means that we are almost 3 seconds faster than when we were here in 2022 with that big change to the dirt. Drivers get a quick warm-up session here, and I'll just take this opportunity to remind everyone, Josh, if you think you could challenge these drivers, well, these Pro 4 trucks are here at Crandon in iRacing official competition this week, and anyone can go and give it a crack.
Or if you don't think you can keep up with the drivers of the iRacing Off-Road Championship Series, go in the broadcast booth like me and Arjuna did.
Yeah, I just can't do a lap without, struggling not to crash. That's my problem, let alone be fast. You know?
I can make it around the track. It's the fast part that's the issue.
So you've got no excuses the next time we do a commentators race here. You've got to get behind the wheel, is what you're saying.
Okay, all right, I will. I'll represent team race spot. I'll go racing.
There we go. The gauntlet's been laid down, but now as the drivers get that final couple of moments of mental focus before they get going for 10 more laps of racing, it's with the expectation of once again going 10 wide off towards the start. Already seen one emotional victory tonight. Can we see a second? It's what motorsports, whether it's real or virtual, is all about. Let's run you down through the starting grid where Quintin Dalomo will be frustrated again that the invert has not been kind to him in terms of which track he's gotten it at. But he's got Keaton Swain, Trenton Browley, Joel Blewett, Connor Barry, Jarrett Liebert all alongside. And we're not done with row number 1. Jacob Rafoss, Nicholas Dachelet, Alex Bergeron, Tyson Miller, Josh Fox, and then Connor Parisi end up being the first 2 drivers on the second row on the inside. We've got Keith Jeffrey in that Nitro Circus sim racing machine with some slightly different colors to last year, alongside with Justin Kay, Parker Retzlaff, Killian Dalomo, Brandon Proudfoot, and then Crystal King through the top 18. Just a handful more cars. Tom Grady, Josh Edmondson on the outside of row 2 with Nicholas Wellhouse, Cody Retzlaff, and then Christopher Plumley. 3 drivers not getting to the end of lap number 1 in some cases, hoping for some more success on the 3rd row of the grid. Once again, if you're just joining us, if you are new to iRacing, want to join the fun, head on to iRacing.com where new memberships are 40% off. Get started on the journey to the virtual checkered flag today. Got about 40-ish seconds before we go racing. You get the sense of the 10 wide. Josh, it was relatively tame on this land rush start in the first race of the evening compared to what we saw last year.
Relatively tame? They were 10 wide, diving into that first corner, contact with everybody, but they didn't flip. I mean, yes, it's tame, but it's controlled chaos is what it is, and everybody was looking for positions in turn number 1, and luckily we didn't see anybody go off of the race in turn number 1. I don't know if we're gonna see the same thing here in this second version of that land rush start, but I'll be honest, Arjuna, after watching that first race, I kind of would rather be on row number 2. Get that good start and gotta follow a truck in front of you. Let him take you through the mess.
Well, once again, drivers focus up to the lights and we get set to send more than 20,000 horsepower 10 wide at Crandon. Racing once again for the iRacing Off-Road Championship Series, and look at the swarm bouncing over the jumps through the whoop section and down into turn 5. Inside, Quintin Dalomo will take advantage, but up and over goes the 27. Big drama there for Joe Blewett after his great performance in the first race. Now, Killian Dalomo goes over. I thought I saw Jacob Rafoss in strife as well. Big chaos here at the start.
Rafoss involved, Dalomo involved, Miller involved. Miller's engine is gone. That's race done for Tyson Miller. Quintin Dalomo leads the way. 3 wide almost for second. That's Keaton Swain grabbing second place. Side by side for third, Fox and Briley. Connor Parisi now looking to insert himself into that battle. He'll give a hip check to the 22 and to the 12 of Fox.
Josh Fox was on the inside of the second row and took advantage of that to work his way up 8 positions to third as we cross the line to start the first official lap of racing here at Crandon. Almost going up and over though was Connor Parisi, really forcing the issue. Around the outside slides Nicholas Dachelet as Trenton Briley in the 22 loses all sorts of momentum, and the champ works up his inside. I asked for this, didn't I? I said that was a tame start in race number 1.
Look at what you did. This is what you did, Arjuna. This is all your fault. And oh, the 22 gets a big time shot. That sends Trenton Briley very loose over the whoop section. He's still trying to gather it up and will eventually gather that truck up. But now Barry goes by. Edmondson goes by. Wait a minute. Josh Edmondson, where did he come from? He started in 20th, Arjuna. He's up to 7th place.
He was on the outside of the second row. Remarkable. And he didn't get picked up in all of the chaos. Incredible. Parker Retzlaff's up there in 5th as well. He's up 10 spots. Nicholas Wellhouse is plus 11. This is what the Land Rush brings. It's the unique race that we only do twice a season. Every other race is a rolling 2x2 formation. End of the official lap number 1 though. Let's not forget, we added a half a lap. It's Quintin Dalomo from Keaton Swain from Josh Fox as Crystal King almost goes up and over for a second consecutive race.
I'll send Crystal King back into P14, but Arjuna, I was just looking at the total positions gained by each of these drivers. Nicholas Wellhouse involved in an incident in race number 1. He's up 11 spots to 10th. I mentioned Edmondson up 13. How about Parker Retzlaff involved in a wreck in race number 1? Started 15th. He's up to 5th, up 10 spots. Even Josh Fox up 8 spots from where he began at 11th to 3rd. Great moves from a lot of those struggling drivers from race number 1 as the two Connors battle in P7, but we look up to a battle for the race lead, and now there's the aftermath of that Land Rush start, and that's Tyson Miller going for a nice top spin off that Land Rush start.
Joel Blewett still going on the left side of your screen. That's ridiculous. That seems unfair.
He's in 14th.
That's what I was thinking. Okay, let's try and get some sanity, both on track and in the broadcast booth, because we got a breakaway at the front. Quintin Dalomo, Keaton Swain, slightly stretching their legs over Josh Fox, and it's a little bit of a sandwich. You've got the veteran truck driver in the middle, and then you've got the bread being the rallycross converts. You might even get a NASCAR/NASCAR driver on the scene as well, because Parker Retzlaff just gotten up to 4th, bullying his way past Nicholas Dachelet, race 1 winner.
How about Dachelet working his way in the top 5 right now? He's trying to get by Parker Retzlaff. That was a close one as they went their way through that corner. Now into the hairpin. Does he set himself up for success? Dachelet, of course, the race number 1 winner. There's the dive to the inside. How badly does he want this second race win? There's no bonus points for winning both, Arjuna, but we know that these are 2 individual races. The points from race number 1 don't affect the points in race number 2. They're 2 independent points paying races, so Dachelet knows that it's essentially like you just ended a Grand Prix last week and you're in the next Grand Prix this week.
A nice way of putting it, actually. Yeah, we call it round 1, round 2, round 3, etc., but events 3 and 4 are what we're actually racing with here today. Swain up the inside. Dalomo gets the better traction on the outside, heading into the Calamity corner, very final corner here at the Crandon International Raceway. And it's pressure. That's what Keaton Swain is doing right now. He waited until the very final lap of the first race of the season to get the elbows out on Joel Blewett, and I will not be shocked if he does something similar here amongst all of that. Speaking of Joel Blewett, I think Crystal King may have tried to take that 3-4 wide potentially, because I'm seeing just chopping and changing on that left side of the timing screen.
A lot of shuffling around of those positions on the timing tower. How about that side-by-side battle mid-pack right now between Kay? That's just a group full of rookies. Kay, Blewett, Liebert's in there. King's in that one as well. Wellhouse, too, as they enter the hairpin.
Is it 4 wide for a second off the corner?
It was.
Crystal King almost ramps off the back of Jarrett Liebert, I believe that was. How quickly things can change as well. Liebert goes from being up towards the front on the Land Rush start, now down 7 positions in the blink of an eye. Not yet halfway through this one either, and track evolution will have played its part. I wonder how many teams and drivers have brought multiple setups. One for the more worn track that we're seeing now versus the fresh track we would have saw for the first 10 laps of racing.
lap number 4 now. That was a great move from the 27 of Joel Blewett to power his way past the 29 of Justin K. And up towards the front, it's still Delamo and Swain, albeit that gap is starting to grow. And here's Jarrett Liebert, race number 2 winner from last week at Wild West, and he sits trying to look up towards Bergeron, towards Parisi, towards Briley, and he's got a lot of work to do from 12th.
They're costing each other time here, aren't they? The gap between 7th and 8th is 2.5 seconds, so Trenton Briley has been able to take the lead of the second gaggle of cars, but they're still not entirely working with one another. Next time by at the line, it will be 5 laps complete, still 5 laps left to run. Josh Fox has actually closed the margin slightly up to Keaton Swain, but he has brought with him both Parker Retzlaff and Nicholas Dachelet, not yet seeing Connor Barry in and on the action as well. In fact, Parker Retzlaff may have just gotten up to 3rd position, taking that away from Josh Fox. And that's one of the storylines that I guess we neglected to have much time to talk about last week, because Parker Retzlaff had a pretty horrendous run in the opening week of the championship as Connor Parisi gets the elbows out with the number 9, and that's not going to end well, I fear.
Elbows out, and unfortunately not ending the way that he was looking for. But at the front, we're taking a look at Parker Retzlaff, and we mentioned him being an eNASCAR convert, and really that's exactly what he is. Saw the exciting off-road racing, said, nah, I'm gonna give that a shot. And Parker Retzlaff being Parker Retzlaff, he was just naturally fast, and he ended up in the World Championship. And great to see his discipline as well in this championship, as battle for the lead just swapped hands.
Yeah, Keaton Swain will get up to the front. Relatively easy pass there, and now we'll see in these next 5 laps if Quinton Delomo's got anything to challenge with, or if it's going to be Keaton Swain pulling away. What I was trying to say before we saw that replay is Parker Retzlaff last week, Josh, was, 16th in the first race and then dead last in the second. Someone that came into this series thinking that within that camp in the Team Rogue, he might be the fastest. Jarrett Liebert ended up being the one to grab the first victory for Team Rogue. Now Parker Retzlaff showing us what he's got as well.
Up on 2 wheels, I think that was Josh Fox there in 5th, but they slammed down into the dirt. Keaton Swain to the race lead. This is very familiar territory for Keaton Swain. It felt like a lot of the rounds last year, as we take a look at that replay of that pass for the lead. There's the red plate of Swain to the inside and got that power down of all 4 wheels and took that race lead. It felt like a lot of times last year, Swain was either winning or wrecking out, and that's why Swain lost the championship. Very consistent to start this season. I'm excited to watch this new Keaton Swain and see if he can make a run for the championship again like he did last year.
I think he's going to be even more ruthless this season. What was that comment that we had in our Twitch chat earlier on the iRacing Esports Network? Apparently Keaton Swain quite looks like Summit, especially just kind of with a mustache. I'm not sure if I necessarily see that, but we'll see if Keaton sees the resemblance.
I don't
potentially.
disagree. I really don't. I do not disagree. Random commenter.
I'm sorry, I forget who that was, but thank you for that valuable bit of insight on the iRacing Esports Network. We do keep an eye on what you guys are saying, what kind of questions you have. I saw lots of support for Factory SimSport after that first race. I wonder what they're going to be thinking of in the second one as we jump on board with one of their contingent, Crystal King.
Is it cat cam or dog cam? I can't tell the animal on the left side.
It looks small enough to be a cat, doesn't it?
Cat cam? Okay, so we got a little bit of added cat cam as well. But, I mean, I've said before how impressed I've been with Crystal King last season and in this season. And in this past season of league competition, I was incredibly satisfied with what I saw there from Crystal King as well. Had to re-qualify in from the qualifying series, consistent finishes in the first 3 rounds, and unfortunately this one looks like she's going to end up outside of the top 10, but hopefully this doesn't discourage her for the rest of the season, because what a season she could have if she keeps up that exact same consistency that she has started the season with. Great progress from last season to now for the number 19, and there's another swap in hands, not for the lead but for second place. Retzlaff up to second, Quinton Delamo down to third.
Does Parker Retzlaff have enough time here to be able to close what is now a 2-second margin with 2 laps to go? Timing's going to go back and forth on that left side of the screen, so just keep an eye on where your leader is relative to second. Josh Fox embroiled in a battle with Connor Barry. Seems to be struggling on the long run in the Williams Esports car, and just look at how on the outside Connor Barry's got enough confidence and bravery to stick it around and rip away 5th from Josh Fox. And next up in line might be the second Nitro Circus sim racing car, as Josh Edmondson tries to find a way through as well.
Not a lot of time left, only about a lap and a half as Barry tries to protect top 5. I said it in race number 1, Arjuna. Consistency is king with Connor Barry. I think Killian Delolmo just had an incident. He did. He just spun into the pit area. That caused a little bit of a timing issue for a moment. We're all good now as he gets back onto the racing surface. But I mentioned Connor Barry being so consistent. We're seeing exactly what I thought we would see. More of Connor Barry in the top 5 and really not finishing anywhere outside of that.
Up front, it's down to 1.2 seconds, and Keaton Swain might be having some deja vu to the opening round of this championship in 2022. Josh Fox tries to go full Ross Chastain and ride the tire wall in that battle for 3rd or so position, sliding through that penultimate corner. But with Keaton Swain and Parker Retzlaff getting ready to see the white flag, does Keaton Swain have enough to hold on for another victory here in the iRacing Off-Road Championship Series?
White flag out in race number 2, and that is Keaton Swain with the red plate at the front of the field. Came into this race, Arjuna, 6 points to the good over Connor Barry. Admittedly, not the best race number 1 for him. He started this race 2nd, which means he finished 7th in race number 1. The better consistency from Connor Barry is going to really make this championship fight leaving Crandon very interesting. But Keaton Swain, now with 2 wins when he crosses the line under his belt, is showing that he is going to be the championship favorite. We talked about Swain all season long last year, and he came up short. I don't think he's going to want to come up short tonight, or this season.
And so, final couple of corners, Parker Retzlaff's not going to have time, I do believe. And behind, inside of the top 8, it's really just Alex Bergeron and Trenton Briley with the track very much worn down and these trucks really struggling for grip. That will not prove to see too much fighting on their run to the checkered flag. Keaton Swain ties Cam Peterson, though, as the most victorious driver in the series. 4 wins the way of the number 2. It's just another stat to add to the history books, though. Keaton Swain, still a long way away from the championship, knows that the business is yet to be done. And a contrast in emotion compared to Nicholas Dachelet as we go almost 3 wide across the line behind. Dachelet was jubilant, elated, and Keaton Swain's just there for another day in the office.
But what a run for Keaton Swain. That's exactly what he needed, because I mentioned the consistency of Connor Barry, still yet to finish outside the top 5 this season. Keaton Swain now with 2 wins in this season of competition. This is going to be an interesting race to the championship.
Wait for the final couple of cars to get to the line. Jacob Rafos had to come down pit lane after lap number 1. Was one of a number of drivers involved in the chaos, and so unfortunately, another tough round, all things considered, for Rafos and the likes of Proudfoot, Miller, and Jeffrey. But for Keaton Swain, it is another victory to add to the collection, and most importantly, it is the first win at one of these longer tracks. Did not get a win at Crandon or Bark River in 2022. Has been able to do that now here in round 2 of the season. 1.5 seconds the margin back to Parker Retzlaff, who did a great job to close up to second and be 13 points gained, positions gained, in the running order, while Quintin Dalomo drops to 3rd, but at least accumulates what's going to be a very, very welcome podium, the 3rd of his career. Behind, it will be Dachelet and Connor Barry to round out the top 5, with Josh Edmondson winning the hard charger for the 2nd race of the evening. 14 positions gained to 6th. Fox slides to 7th, struggling in the closing stages, while Blewett, Bergeron, and Briley make up the rest of the top 10. Plenty of Bs there for me to work my way through. Jarrett Liebert, Christopher Plumley, Crystal King, Then Justin Kay and Nicholas Wellhouse will make up the rest of your top 15. Handful of those Factory Simsport and Team Rogue cars in the mix there. While Cody Retzlaff worked his way quietly up from the front, as did Tom Grady. Didn't talk much about him, but that's probably for the best. Some random hotel somewhere in the US seemed to have decent enough cell signal for him to get some points on the board. Parisi, Del Olmo, and then Jacob Rafoss make up the rest of your top 20, all scored at least on the lead lap. The same could not be said for Brandon Proudfoot, Keith Jeffrey, and then Tyson Miller. Fastest lap went the way of Parker Retzlaff on lap number 2. That's a warning shot to the rest of the drivers. Team Rogue Machine has started to pick up its form. We'll make our way, though, in towards our post-race coverage and chat with some winners once again. And I don't want to hang around too much longer. I really want to have a chat with Nicholas Dashalay, because the emotions after that first race were evident to everyone. But Nicholas, after that, you had to focus up with another race on the docket.
Yeah, that was awesome. That's my first ever win in any league session, and it's taken 3 long years to finally get one, and it feels good to finally get that win and then line up for the second race. Second race was kind of nuts. Coming into turn 1, got someone rolled over top me, damaged my truck a little bit, but we were able to hang on to a 4th place finish.
I mean, I can still kind of see the smile. One thing I remarked on is that just missed out on holding your championship license at the end of last season. Came into the qualifier series, won that. Factory Sim Sports looking great. I mean, how confident did you guys come into the season? How are you feeling right now?
I can't even put it into words. I don't even know what to say. Just the amount of work that we put in, Keaton, Crystal, Tom, Tyson, Plum, Terry, everyone, just the amount of work we put in this offseason since the last World Championship to get these trucks to where they are now. And with the dirt refresh, we were running these trucks so hard that we wanted to make sure we're going to be out there and show up. And it feels so good to win finally.
Congratulations, Nicholas. It's always great to see when it really means something to win a race like this. Enjoy this moment, and I hope we get to see it a couple more times in 2023.
Yeah, I hope so too. I just want to give a shout out to Factory Sim Sport, Legion Speed Sport, Keaton, Crystal, Tom, Plum, Terry. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. Honig Paint. Yeah, and this is my home racetrack. I'm from Crandon, so this one's extra special. So shout out to my family watching and everything, and on to Bark River.
That's going to be a celebration to watch, and we go from one Factory Simsport driver to another. Keaton Swain adds yet another victory to the collection. He's standing by with Josh Lee.
And a good race from Keaton once again, and Keaton, of course, stark contrast from Wild West to Crandon. How'd you get this one done to walk away with your second victory this season?
Well, Crandon's quite a bit different than Wild West. Just surviving the start is half the battle, and luckily we were able to do that two times tonight. So once we did that, at the first race, we were picking people off and got up there top 6, I think, and then we were just battling there on that last lap. It was a handful. Everyone just trying to get their trucks to turn, and I was just happy. I got put in the pole at the end, but luckily I crossed the line, it said, so that put me in a good starting spot for the second race, and luckily we just were able to settle in there behind Quentin and just pressure him a little bit, and then got by him, and then we just settled in and were able to come away with a win. So I'm super happy. 2 wins out of 4 races so far. I can't complain.
It's a quick run to the top for you in this championship, but last season you took that quick lead. You held it for a long time, but then Connor Berry slowly kept creeping up and then got you in the end. What's the strategy as now we exit round 2, go into the remaining 6 rounds of this championship for you to hold that championship lead?
Yeah, we just got to keep doing what we're doing. Consistency wins championships, and luckily we were pretty consistent last year, just not quite enough though. So, this year we're off to a much better start than last year. So, and I learned a lot last year, just being smart and putting myself in certain positions to be successful on the track. And I think it's starting to pay off here. So we'll just keep putting our heads down and getting to work, and just keep trying to get these finishes.
Congrats again on the race win tonight, Keaton, your second race win of the season. We'll see you in Bark River in 1 week.
That sounds good. I got to thank Sim Coach Pedals. They came on board this year. Her pedals are amazing. Everyone at Shenandoah Shine for coming on board as well. Appliance Parts Company, everyone at the team, Factory Sim Sport. We know we've been putting in that work, so we'll just keep doing it and bring it next week.
And thanks again for joining us here in the broadcast booth. That's Keaton Swain for Factory Sim Sport, race number 2 winner tonight, and officially leaving Crandon, Arjuna, your points leader, as you're standing by with Parker Retzlaff.
Yeah, and you mentioned that for Keaton Swain, he led the championship so long. Let's see how the rest of the season plays out. Parker Retzlaff, though, after a, let's say, physical round number 1, at least enjoyed a bit more success in the trucks this time around, Parker. How fun was it to be out there up towards the front and mixing it out there on the dirt?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was, this week went a lot better than it did last week. I didn't even make a 1 full lap last week in either race. So this week was really good. I crashed early, like turn 2 of this race in round 1 also, or round 3 here. But round 4 really good. I actually cleared turn 1, and I was able to just kind of drive my own race. And I feel like I was a little bit better than Keaton, but he got clear to the lead. And I think that will be good when we come back. I just have to thank everyone who puts any work into this. Jarrett Liebert especially, he does a lot of the work for our trucks, and Funkaway and everyone who supports me.
I was actually going to ask about not just Jarrett, but the fact that you live with Vicente Salas, who is Jarrett Liebert's spotter, and there's a lot of, I'm sure, history behind you actually making this transition into dirt. You've got your eNASCAR background, your NASCAR background as well. How much of that carries forward in terms of racecraft to this? I am curious.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can see the racecraft from some people isn't the best, but I think I already seen an improvement from last week, that it's getting better. So I think it'll get better. I think everyone just needs to relax a little bit at the beginning of the race and not feel like they have to push so hard, and they can actually make moves once they can spread it a little bit. And I think I showed that tonight, because I was like 7th or 8th after the turn 1 thing, and I drove up to 2nd. So it's just taking my time, and also just a good truck.
Well, sounds like you guys will have solid trucks for the rest of the campaign. Congratulations on the first podium of potentially many, Parker Retzlaff.
Thank you.
Parker Retzlaff joins us in the broadcast booth to wrap up our post-race coverage and post-race interviews indeed, but it means that we can focus on what lies ahead 7 days from today, because we continue this championship. We're rolling relentlessly, Josh, for 9 consecutive weeks.
Of course, one of those being the all-star race at the midpoint of the calendar, but we'll go to eat all 4 of our off-road tracks on the iRacing service 2 times. So we're not going to see Crandon until we crown a champion at the end of the season. But next week, Bark River International Raceway, Arjuna. I think this might edge out Crandon as my favorite track. That massive jump slamming back to the dirt, the unpredictable final sector. And oh, by the way, it's a rolling start, but a start zone that will back them all the way up to that start finish line that will then spring them down into the valley that you're looking at there. Oh, I love me some Bark River racing, and I'm excited to see how the championship is going to go. 9 points currently, or 7 points currently separating the top 2 out of Crandon. Is it going to stay that way when we exit round 3?
I think the thing to remember is that this was the side of the closest finish in last year's series history. When Josh Fox and Tommy Horman flew across the line together, it is one that we are guaranteed to be in for fireworks. And that's, of course, just continuing to build us up to the end of the first half of the championship. For now, though, it is time to bid you farewell. 49 days from today, we'll return to the big house to crown a champion. But today, Nicholas Dachelet will be maybe the hometown hero with the victory in race number 1. Factory Simsport will be delighted with Keaton Swain tying Cam Peterson, the most winning driver in series history. The fun rolls on the iRacing Esports Network, though. Tomorrow, the Turn Racing Grand Prix iRacing Qualify Series heads to the Red Bull Ring. Next Monday, the World of Outlaws Butt Kicker Late Model Series gets underway at Volusia. And of course, before we return at Bark River on Tuesday, eNASCAR Coca-Cola action Tuesday night from Nashville. When we return at Bark River, though, it will be one step closer to the halfway mark of the championship. For the team at iRacing, for the team at RaceBot TV, for our production crew of Hugo Luis, Juliana Cesar, and Camilla Morais, for my co-commentator Joshua Lee, it's Arjuna Kankipati signing off from the big house where the iRacing Off-Road Championship proves dirt racing is always bigger, it's always better.